Hey everyone, welcome back to the AutoMind podcast. Today I'm joined by Al-Ameen Kabba, former founder, of the First to Final Logistics. After building his career at Amazon and going through Techstars, he started his own logistics company that's helping businesses rethink how they manage supply chain from start to finish. We'll dive into his journey as a founder, the major shifts happening in logistics right now, and how he's navigating those challenges while building for the future. Thanks for joining us, Al.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me. Thank you for the time and the opportunity.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you for your time. So, let's get right into it. A little about your role and the business. So, what inspired you to start First to Final after working at Amazon and being part of Techstars?
Man, that's a great question. I think we had, as a company, a very interesting journey. So before I started First to Final Logistics, I had another company called Pavement. And Pavement we started in 2020 after my time at Amazon and working at the micro warehousing fulfillment center. And Pavement essentially was to, I would say, kind of transform how we think about final mile delivery when it comes to small parcel, taking what drivers know about their routes, gate codes, access points, what doors to walk into, etc., and kind of storing that information and democratizing it to a whole delivery force on our platform. And that's what the company we went through with Techstars, essentially building that and then iterating that over time. And we had the software component, then we also had final mile business. So the final mile business, some of our mentors at Techstars was like, hey man, like you're making money in your final mile business. You should double down on, something that's generating you revenue instead of like, to tinker with software, it costs a lot of money over time. And that's what we did, right? So we put a pause on the software and then we launched First to Final in 2023. And we started off with our last mile delivery contracts, and then we went into 3PL services, focused on transportation, and then eventually getting into warehousing. So First to Final Logistics is 3PL. We focus on a lot of heavy, bulky, not really smaller items, but more so heavy, bulky. Some of our biggest accounts are tire manufacturers. We do a lot of pallet in, pallet out at some of our facilities. And then we also do drayage, picking up your container and bringing them back to our warehouse, unloading them. So we kind of control that whole supply chain from port to porch, as we like to say, for brands and businesses.
No, so I mean, you chose the perfect name for the business then. Sounds like you do take care of everything from beginning to end. Yeah, that was perfect. Okay, that was yeah. So, okay. So, as far as you being the founder, how does that fit into like day-to-day operations now that your company's scaling?
I mean, day-to-day operations, I think, for me, I'm like a hands-on type of founder, right? Like my quintessential role, and I feel like a lot of founders would say their quintessential role is finding new business, building the business, making more money, bringing more money in. But at the same time, sometimes I'm on a forklift, sometimes I'm inside a container, sometimes I'm rewiring dash cameras in trucks, name it, I'm doing it all. And it's just because, sometimes people that are on the team are working on tasks that, we need done, where I can say, okay, I have a little break before or break between meetings. I'll go do something really quickly just so I don't kind of distract those people that are working on, moving the needle for the processes that we already have in place.
No, I appreciate that. It's a good leadership trait to be in the trenches with them. You know what I mean? Not like, hey, go do this and do that. It shows that, you actually care and you take the time, which is a good quality. So I guess looking back at your journey, did you always see yourself starting your own logistics company or did that kind of happen unexpectedly? Like how did you come about that?
To be honest, man, like when I was 22, 23, 24, like that area, like part of my life, I didn't know what I was going to do, right? I didn't know.
Like most of us.
Like I didn't have a plan like, hey, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna become an engineer or something like that. I didn't know. And ironically, I was applying for jobs at Amazon, and then, my mom is a huge like Amazon advocate because of just like the process of how fast you can get stuff to the door. So she sent me a link like, hey, you should apply for Amazon. And I did exactly that. And I ended up getting a job at Amazon. This was about 2017 to 2018. And then Amazon had a program where if you're coming out of college with a bachelor's degree, you could become an area manager managing, teams of up to 50 or more people, which was a great opportunity to kind of learn process, to learn team management, like all the key features to be a leader. I think Amazon did a really good job for me in particularly, and I just met a ton of great people there. And then from there, once like, okay, seems like you're good at logistics. It seems like you're good at supply chain and stuff like that, fulfillment, and then kind of from there, 6, 7 years later, I'm still here running my own organization.
No, that's amazing that they give you guys those opportunities, and you actually jumped on it because there's a lot of people that talk about things but don't actually do it. So I mean, the fact that you took that for what it was, that was amazing. I mean, look where it got you today, right? You never would have thought if you were talking to your younger self that you would end up here. But I mean, so it's like kind of to piggyback off that, coming from Amazon's scale to building your own company. I mean, like, what's the biggest mindset shift coming there? It's like,
I think so at Amazon, like Amazon did an amazing job being able to have like process paths and SOPs for everything, right? Like we had how we would design warehouses, right? Like and this and that. Like Amazon had every single process path in place, or people were constantly building them and reiterating them. So they would account for every granular detail. Like, hey, if we're starting a new warehouse, we need to have the tape for the floor to make sure the lane is like this, right? So coming out of that and then going to a micro warehousing startup called Ojai, I took that same mindset, right? It's just like, okay, we need to be able to have processes, everything needs to be streamlined. And then, starting my own organization is the same thing, right? And I know you and I were talking earlier about how supply chain and logistics to me is kind of behind in a sense. And so like one of the things we've created is like we have customers that we have to give the actual BOL to, right? Like the driver has a paper BOL to me, which is in 2025. I keep on saying it's kind of crazy. Like
yeah.
created automation where, the driver uploads it to an Airtable form that we built, and that gets shot out to our customers for proof of delivery instantaneously, right? I haven't
Okay.
a software that does that. So my biggest thing is like you have brokers, you got direct shippers, you got drivers, you got dispatchers. There's so much going on where I think the biggest thing I take away from Amazon is how do we kind of streamline all those processes to kind of make it where the flow of the product or service is not really getting disrupted. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways is literally building all of these systems from scratch.
No, but again, that's you taking advantage of that opportunity because I mean, when it all comes down to it, you carried a lot of that over. So it's kind of like you were starting from scratch, but not like, I guess, at the zero. You were at least had some kind of head start there. So that worked out perfectly. As far as, I guess, what big shifts are you seeing in logistics right now as far as like around customer expectations for speed and transparency? Kind of going back to Amazon, everybody expects things next day or same day or so how do you kind of navigate that part?
Yeah, man. I think, the expectation, and I think, of course, Amazon has set that threshold. Everybody wants everything now, right? Like, I want same day delivery, I want same day fulfillment. Even me, like, I buy products online. I expect if I purchase something in the morning, I expect it to be leaving your warehouse that day, just because of like I work in supply chain and I
Yeah.
know like the behind the scenes and stuff like that. So, for us, sorry, I think for us, or for like me personally, is the flywheel is spinning faster and faster, right? Where everybody wants everything, okay, even like one of the customers we work with that does a lot of freight coming out of China, as soon as it clears customs, you have like 1 or 2 days to deliver it, right? So I think that is becoming the norm for customers. And especially when it comes to like e-commerce and small parcel, given all the tariffs and stuff that's going on, I think the landscape is going to change significantly just due to those factors. And I think for brands, especially particularly last mile, I think last mile is like a really tough business, right? Like we've been at last mile a lot, and there's so many emerging companies competing to get volume from TikTok, Shein, and whatever other brands. And it's becoming like really, really competitive. And that's kind of like one of the main reasons why we scaled back from last mile and said like, hey, let's start to work our way up the supply chain, just because a lot of people haven't encroached in the market yet, right? So from like a last mile perspective, it's tough. Like customers want things to their door the next day. And then carriers, freight forwarders, they want it there too to meet the brand's expectations. But to me, it comes down to the factor of like, how much is it going to cost, right? And I think as the price of everything goes up, I think the last mile carriers in particularly are kind of getting hammered on the price when it comes to delivering parcels to customers' doorsteps. And then as you work your way up to the supply chain, like looking at it from like a 3PL perspective, is a lot of brands don't want to commit to long-term deals, like, hey, you got to sign a 3-year deal, you need to order minimum. I think brands now are looking for more flexibility and autonomy to say, like, hey, this might not be a good fit, but I don't want to be locked in 2-3 years, right? And I think that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Like, if you're very sure on your product and your offering to your customers, like, hey, you can do month to month, but I'm pretty sure if you do month to month, you're not going to want to leave anyway. I'm not going to lock you in. If this is a fit for you, this is a fit for us, right? So we don't really have any long contractual agreements with customers, and we don't need them, right? Just because the services that we provide is just like, hey, Al, thanks. I appreciate it. Like, we're not going anywhere, right? If you want to sign a 1-year deal, no problem. But if something happens 6 months into that deal, we'll let you out of that deal, right? And we're just good. You're just good to our customers, and our customers are good to us. I think that's kind of like what makes the flywheel keep on spinning and us allowing us to get more and more business.
No, that's always something that any business should do, especially, flexibility that will draw in the customers, knowing they're not really tied to anything, and you guys kind of are caring more about them and working with them and their needs.
Yeah.
But it's also smart for you guys to pivot away from, you realized that it was getting really competitive and saturated, so you pivoted and, started on the other end of logistics. So that's a really another good trait that you have there. A lot of people kind of get stuck and don't know how to pivot or kind of be fluid and go with the times. So that's really good. A little bit about technology. I mean, of course, a lot of companies are looking into AI forecasting. Well, AI for different purposes, but I think forecasting is a big one, especially in logistics. But what about, so you got experience at Amazon, but how do you see AI shaping the future of logistics?
I think when it comes to like 3PL services, now that AI is becoming more and more prevalent in systems, one of the things we would try to focus on at Ojai, and like Amazon did an amazing job doing this, is the allocation of inventory, like having the right inventory at the right place at the right time at the right cost, right? I think AI is going to accelerate that significantly because I can just plug, hey, here's a data set from the last, 5 or 6 months that shows all my customer orders. What SKUs do I need where, right? And I think you'll be able to get that instantaneously. And I think a lot of brands and businesses need to kind of leverage that. We see that sometimes companies we work with have SKUs in one warehouse, but not in another warehouse. And we need them here in Atlanta, but they're in Connecticut, right? So you're paying for that transportation cost when it's like, hey, I might have this SKU in a container 30 days out. Instead of it being routed to Connecticut, let me route it to Georgia. And I think AI and the predictive models that you should be able to build will kind of send that forward. From a 3PL perspective, from looking further down the supply chain, like last mile, I think like we're still light years away. I try to get a package to my door and it's just like, hey, like for instance, I live in an apartment building where the leasing office and stuff is closed on Sunday at a certain time. There's no artificial intelligence or machine learning to say, hey, these 17 apartment complexes, we always have we always fail the delivery. Why? Right? And then going back to say we failed the delivery because the building closed at a certain time. You should use AI and machine learning to build a route backwards and say, hey, I need to deliver these places first because they close early. Routing technology, from what I've seen, not intelligent enough to pick up the permutations of what you have to do when you get to different addresses, right? And that's kind of like what we were building at Pavement, is just that the systems don't have the knowledge, but the drivers do, right? How do we connect what the drivers know to the system, so to kind of overall increase on-time delivery, the amount of deliveries that are actually being made. And I think ultimately that will drive some of the costs down because when it comes to last mile, because if I can't deliver your package today, I got to pay another driver to go deliver it tomorrow.
Yes.
With AI and machine learning, I should be able to know that place is closed, or this is a senior citizen living home. You can't get in here on a Sunday, right? These are all things that we've experienced in real time that I think AI would help with. But again, I don't think we're there yet.
No, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of good points you make, but I think it does come down to AI is like in the infancy stages, I guess. It's just like scraping it's like barely, I guess it's not even close to like what it will be in 5 to 10 years. But I think as time gets on, it kind of, I feel like these bigger companies are investing a lot of money into it. But I also feel like as time goes on, there's a lot more opportunities that will open for smaller businesses. So that's going to be a real opportunity for people like like not everyone's in an Amazon position or Walmart or all these big companies. So I think as time goes on, there'll be a lot more opportunities for you guys, which will be amazing. And it can help in any industry,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's going to be a lot of stuff that saves you guys time and money, but So what do you think is the biggest win for first to final so far as you can think of, since you guys been doing this since 2023 or under
Um,
that name at least? Yeah.
I think the biggest win for us, both companies is just like the relationships that we've had in the industry. And then let's say I meet you and then you connect me with somebody, right? Like, hey, you and I build a great rapport. We have a great relationship. You unlock the door to a customer, which unlocks the door to another customer, right? So I think, 99 or let's say 90 to 99% of our business has all been referrals, word of mouth. Hey, I know a guy that handles commercial truck tires. That leads to one client to another client to another client. Before you know it, like we're the truck tire company that has thousands of tires in our warehouses, right? And so, to simplify it, I think the biggest win for us as an organization is one, doing right by our customers and our customers referring us to more business, right? Which has allowed us to get thus far. And then now us building systems to get leads that are not warm or through introductions like cold leads, right? So I think that's kind of the biggest win. Do right by your customers and, your customers will do right by you and introduce you to more people.
Oh, no, that will take you very far with that mindset. I mean, networking is big in any industry. Sometimes they say it's not about what you know, it's about who you know.
Yeah. I think in logistics, that phrase is probably like the most underrated phrase, right? Because you'll scratch your head like, how did this guy get this account? We do some work for a company down here, and these guys are like ex-military admirals that run this company. And he was like, "Hey Al, like we applied, but we weren't able to get the contract. But then like I looked at it was a government contract, huge government contract, right?" And he was like, "Hey Al, I looked at the guy that's running the contract. He was like in this battalion that I used to run in the army." And then he looked at it and he seen my name. And he was like, "Yeah, just give these guys a contract." Of course, it was like the whole process they had to go through, but you know, just because they knew each other, it
Yeah.
unlocked this huge opportunity. And I think that's logistics in general. Like when you look behind the scenes, it's somebody that knew somebody that, hey, I'm going to give you this account because I trust you, right? Like I'm sitting in, let's say, Iowa, and you're running this lane for me in Georgia. I need to have some sort of trust because of the relationship of the freight that's moving. So if you have people that like back you and trust you, I think it's the network, man. 1 trillion% the network.
Oh, yeah, that's big. On the flip side, what's been the most frustrating thing, or I guess your biggest bottleneck?
I mean, for us, it's the starting fresh. You now have to build processes around how to get leads and finding leads. Like, where is that spot to getting leads? Where do you find them at, right? And I think everybody that's kind of like in the 3PL space, we're all searching for new leads, right? New contracts and stuff like that. So I think that, and in conjunction with like when you kind of like bid on these like larger contracts, let's say if you want to pull, trailers for Walmart, right? Against these large brokerages that have owner operators and have like 350 trucks, right? So like we try to bid on the contract. The guy was like, "Hey man, you don't even have enough trucks to bid on this contract." It was like 14 trucks and like 50
Shoot your
trailers.
shot, right?
Yeah, but I'm gonna shoot it. Every
Yeah.
time I'm gonna shoot it, right? But it's so. And again, I think that goes back to the network, right? So the two things that we're saying to ourselves as a company is like, how do we like build a fleet of reliable owner operators across the country to allow us access to bid on these contracts? And then also, where can we learn how to source cold leads and where are people going for leads, right? Like how is a broker coming into a brokerage and building his or her book of business? Right, is the questions we're asking ourselves to get more direct contact with the shipper, right? And I'm a huge advocate of like if something is working, do until it stops. So if we have, let's say, 3 tire manufacturers, okay, let's do 10, let's do 50, let's do 100 until like we have no more space in our warehouses to hold tires, right? Some people don't agree with that, but it's just like if this is what made you a ton of money and this is what's just making you money, just keep on doing more of that to make more money.
Yeah. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right, exactly. So people hate handling tires. To us, it's been a sweet spot, especially like commercial truck tires has been a real sweet spot for us once we kind of got rocking and rolling.
Well, that's kind of like your theme. I mean, that's another opportunity that you saw that somebody was lacking in and you took it and now you're doing great at that. So that's another awesome thing. But it's like kind of going back to what you said about the leads. It's like, yes, you guys, I guess when you take care of your customers, you do get more opportunities, organic leads, but those only go so far. I guess word of mouth used to be a big thing. I guess it still is. But now with AI, I guess getting leads, I guess you can explore both avenues. Obviously, you still treat people good, you make those connections, but at the same time, you can also do the cold leads with AI. So it's like doubling your opportunities.
Man, 1,000,000%. It's funny that you say that, right? So I said, hey, we work with these 3 or 4 tire manufacturers that are based in, let's say, China, Vietnam, wherever. Give me a list of 50 more of these exact companies that fit this profile. And they'll spit out a whole bunch of companies, right? Then we'll take that plus other companies people told us about and build another list. And then now you have like people to kind of go after, right? So I think, and we do that with every sector of customer bases that we work with. Hey, who's looking for cross-docking services in Georgia, right? Drop and hook projects when it comes to trailers that we might drop off in places, right? Fulfillment services, so on and so forth. And like we have a company that we work with, it's another 3PL. We do transportation for them. They were like, hey, we get our leads from like a 3PL lead sourcing site, right? Where these companies will find a whole bunch of brands that are looking for 3PL services. And then they'll give those leads to the actual 3PL. And they'll, charge you a fee or a platform fee or a percentage of the invoice. So one day I was just like, man, like there has to be more companies out here doing this, right? So I put the 3 companies I knew about into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave me a list of all the companies globally that do the exact same thing. And I literally like filled out a form like, hey, we want to partner as a 3PL for every single company, right? Just so now we have leads coming in pretty much like every day or every other day from these different 3PL sourcing sites, right? And it's like, if this is working here, just keep on doubling down on that and seeing if you can get more leads that way.
No, that's amazing because even in the future, you're going to be able to automate reaching out to them. So it's going to make even that part. So yeah, look at all the time you save just by doing that. I mean, the opportunities are endless. What kind of about that also is like as far as metrics go, what do you think? What do you think about? Is it like delivery times, kind of what we were talking about earlier, cost efficiency, maybe customer retention with those organic leads? What's like your North Star? What do you think is the biggest thing? Would it come back still to the customer interaction?
Yeah, I think like for us, our North Star is okay. Once we kind of get you in the door, you've become a customer of ours, our goal is to grow that account, right? So, and that's pretty much us like, hey, like you're paying us for space, but we don't really think you need this much space, right? Like these SKUs don't move. You can either liquidate this or bring it to another facility that's cheaper for you, that you might have your own facility, right? So I know it's kind of counterintuitive because like they're our customer, they're paying us, but I'm telling them to pay us less money, essentially. But it's just the truth, right? And I would want somebody that's my 3PL partner to tell me the same thing. Like, hey, these SKUs don't move. You're just paying for the storage. It's a waste of space. Every account that we've had, let's say it starts off at like 1. Every account, we always grow that account exponentially over time. And that's because of our service, right? Like we might only get transportation. The transportation comes like, hey, I want you to do my transportation and my warehousing, right? So 100% of the accounts that we've had that have come online, it might have started off small, but it grew, doubled, tripled, quadrupled, where then we have a huge bulk of their business. So that's kind of our North Star is like, how do we give our customers like a white glove service? Like, hey, we're the logistics experts. You're the expert at running your business and your brand. Let us help you, right? Even if it means that we're going to lose a little bit of money, that's fine, right? We'll lose a little bit of money. You'll make money. You'll process more orders. And in turn, that'll kind of spin the flywheel for us to get more of your business.
But see, again, that goes back to what you're saying about the customers and taking care of them. That's big for a lot of people. Again, a lot of owners or founders really care about that because it shows that you guys care. And I mean, it's again going back to networking. It's about business opportunities. People want to work with people like that. So that's
Yeah, I mean, we had a company that we were talking to that were building solar panels, right? And I kind of caught myself going in a rabbit hole with the client. He was designing these like, I guess, solar panels that were gonna stick on the side of somebody's house. And I was like, hey, like if there's gonna be a residential delivery, you got to kind of think about like the LTL freight going to the customer's house. If it's an odd shaped pallet, they're going to charge you more than a standard size pallet, et cetera, because he was in the process of actually manufacturing it. And he was like, hey, man, this was good to know because I'm going to tweak my design to make it fit on one pallet instead of being this oversized pallet. right? So a lot of times we speak to brands, I think it's more, hey, this is what you should be looking at when it comes to, choosing a company. Even if you don't go with us, you'll be able to say like, hey, like Al gave us a lot of information that was really, really helpful, right? And then maybe in the future, in turn, the business will come back to us, which it has in certain instances, but it's more to like 3PL, right? Like we're your, we're your third party logistics partner. Like the emphasis on partner, right? So, um,
No, I love the fact that you still provide value, even though you may not work with them, because a lot of people kind of are, I guess, like a hoard the knowledge. If you don't want to work with them, they're like, oh, we're not going to help you. But that's another amazing quality, yeah.
if you know something, and because the knowledge that you and I might have gotten over our careers, somebody gave it to us, right? Like, or we've picked it up somewhere, something we learned, but there was a time in both of our careers when we can definitively say somebody helped us with something that helped us get to the next level, right? So I ask a ton of questions. I always ask for help. If I don't know something, I'll just call somebody. Hey, like, I'm stuck on this. I don't know how to price this. Can you help me? Like, I'm not ashamed, right?
There's no stupid questions, no.
Like I'm gonna ask silly questions. I'm gonna call people that I have more industry expertise than me, and just ask them like, hey, how do you price this out? And I think you just pay that forward. When somebody asks you a question, you help them.
Yeah, I like that mindset for sure. So, kind of, I guess, segue into the next thing is future goals. So, what we'll touch on last is going to be where do you see you guys in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, man. So in the next 6 to 12 months, the main thing that we want to do is, like I was saying, is build that owner operator network. Then being that, we work with a lot of direct shippers, we're going to start to kind of think about building our own brokerage, right? To be able to actually broker that work out that we're getting directly from shippers, and then kind of grow our footprint as a 3PL across the country. Like due to partners and businesses, other businesses that we work with, we have access to their warehouses, right? So how do we give that partnership and access to other warehouses to the brands that we work with? And then that'll lead to transportation in that city. So we're doing warehousing and transportation. So how do we then become this nationwide 3PL services offering different pick pack, whatever you can name it in those cities? So I think we have a good amount of resources in certain cities in America, right? The question I ask myself every day is how do we get better at finding drivers, owner operators in other parts of the countries where we're not strong at, where we might have an opportunity, but we're not strong at, right? So I think once we figure that out and crack that code, that'll allow us to use our existing relationship and network to grow across the country. And that's kind of like the next 6 to 12 months. And then from there is kind of get into, I would say, specialty freight. Right now we're going to process of doing hazmat, and then after that we'll do bonded. So it's really okay. We have a hazmat customer that came to us as a referral from another one of our customers. So okay, let's look into hazmat, right? And then bonded is big down here in Georgia. So that's kind of on our horizon for the next 6 to 12 months.
I mean, again, it all comes back to networking. Look at that. I mean, those opportunities are amazing. So, and also wanting to expand, that should be everybody's mindset, every business owner, There's endless opportunities out there when you take the time. But just a few more for you. Thank you for your time again. But if you could wave a magic wand and solve, I guess, one challenge in logistics today, what would it be?
Man, magic wand, one problem, I think it would be communications between different parts of the supply chain. I think brokers, shippers, like everybody's on a different page sometimes, right? Where the shipper will be like, hey, I want the truck here at noon. The broker would tell us 2 p.m., right? So
Yeah.
the magic wand would, like, how do we streamline communications across every single part of the supply chain, right? Where it left the factory in Vietnam, it's being loaded on a truck, notification, right? It's loaded onto the boat, notification, right? All the way down to me being the 3PL that's going to get that container last, take it to the customer. I think all of us should be included in supply chain. And I think that would reduce, logistics friction as well as the cost significantly. And I think, again, according to your point, AI should help us do that, where we should be able to automate like everything, right? Like Amazon can tell you how many stops your package is away from your house, right? Like, why can't I track one container from start to finish, right? By the SKU, so I think that would be mine.
No, again, yeah, I love that point. I agree totally. But again, it's hard to compare like I wouldn't want to compare yourself or any one of these smaller companies to companies like Amazon because that's just not fair. At this point in time, again, as time goes on, you guys will get more opportunities. So I saved the best for last. Let's end with this. If you could give one piece of advice to someone thinking of maybe launching getting into logistics, maybe starting their own thing, partnering with someone, what would your advice be? If you could give them your best, your best advice.
Man, be a sponge, right? Like people that are in logistics already, ask them a ton of questions, right? Even if like you want information, help them out in ways that they might need help. Just offer the ability to help that person, which will then, in turn lead to that person helping you because it's a relationship, right? And I think when it comes to logistics, there's a lot of knowledge out there, but there's a lot of proprietary inside knowledge about the industry that's not mainstream, right? I think 1,000,000% being a sponge, find people that you trust, that you work well with. And, if you have to work with them, work under them, I think that'll significantly reduce your amount of mistakes you're going to make when you go build your own thing, right? And I did exactly that. I wanted to learn about startups. I went to go work at a startup and I asked probably 1,000 questions a day. What does this mean? What does this mean? Right? Being a sponge and then going above and beyond in that role that I had to help that company grow. So I think being a sponge.
No, I love that because it's not everyone knows everything. And it's like I had someone above me in the military that used to tell me people are our superpower. So you should use those people in your team. Even though they're maybe younger than you, they could teach you something. It doesn't always have to be the older people that may have wisdom. Somebody sees things differently. So that sponge thing is spot on. That's a great way to end it. But Al, thank you for this. I mean, this is going to be valuable for our listeners. As far as before we wrap up, where can everyone find you or learn more about First to Final Logistics?
Yeah, man. So you can go to our website, which is spelled out firsttofinallogistics.com. Fill out a form if you want to connect with us. I'm on LinkedIn. My name, Al-Ameen Kabba, also firsttofinallogistics.com. Excuse me, First to Final Logistics on LinkedIn. I kind of can't help myself, and I'm under a lot of people's comments or posts talking about like logistics and stuff like that, or what we're noticing. So definitely heavy on LinkedIn. And then we're going to start posting a lot of content behind the scenes when it comes to what it is to be a 3PL. So we're gonna do some TikTok stuff as well as Instagram, and all of those accounts will be First to Final.
There we go, sticking with that sponge again, right? Got to be a sponge, yeah.
Yeah, this much.
Perfect, Al. Thanks you for joining me again. So, I mean, if you guys enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, and share, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.